The output shaft speed sensor detects the output shaft RPM at the transfer drive gear. The input voltage and ground are connected to the TCM, and they are 9 voltage at 8 voltage, respectively. The sensor senses when the current at the ground shifts from 7 mA to 14 mA, and detects the output shaft RPM. If the sensor fails, the shifter locks in fourth gear and failsafe is activated. Therefore, the transmission cannot learn the driver's preferences. The 6-speed transmission has the following output elements. Among these, we will focus on the shift lock solenoid valve, the start control, and the reverse light control. The valve body includes 6 VFS control solenoid valves, and 2 on-off control solenoid valves. The HIVEC 5-speed VFS control current range is 0 to 1200 mA, while the 6-speed VFS control current range is 0 to 850 mA. Compared to its counterpart, the 6-speed VFS reduces current by half and increases fuel efficiency. The resistance of this solenoid valve is about 5.1 ohm at room temperature, and the allowable tolerance is plus or minus 0.3 ohm. The torque converter clutch control solenoid valve and the 26-brake solenoid valve are normally low solenoid valves. In normally low VFSs, the oil pressure decreases as current decreases. When the maximum current flows, the oil pressure moves to the relevant element to engage it. The 35R clutch solenoid valve, the UD brake solenoid valve, the OD clutch solenoid valve, and the line pressure solenoid valve are normally high valves. In normally high VFSs, the oil pressure increases as current decreases. In other words, when the current is low, the oil pressure moves to the relevant element to engage it. The line pressure solenoid valve on the bottom of the valve body controls the oil pressure of the valve body between 4 and 16 bars, based on the engine load. You may notice that the oil pressure in each clutch or brake oil pressure port is different. When any of the solenoid valves mentioned above fail, a DTC is issued and the shifter locks in fourth gear. Keep this in mind when performing maintenance. On-off type shift solenoid valves, A and B can be controlled only to turn on or off by the TCM. The resistance of the on-off shift solenoid valves is about 10 to 11 ohm at room temperature. The ATM shift lock solenoid valve is mounted on the bottom of the shift lever in the front console, and is activated if the brake switch is on when shifting from P to R or neutral to R. There are two types of starting relays, those controlled by the TCM and those controlled directly by the inhibitor switch. In PA relay controls, if the inhibitor switch supplies 12V to S1, 0V to S2, 0V to S3, and 0V to S4 in P, or 0V to S1, 0V to S2, 12V to S3, and 0V to S4 in N position, then the PA relay is grounded. This circuit differs from those made before June 2011. There are two types of reverse light relays, those controlled by the TCM, and those controlled directly by the inhibitor switch. If the TCU receives 0V for S1, 12V for S2, 0V for S3, and 0V for S4, it controls the negative terminal of the reverse relay. This circuit differs from those made before June 2011. Refer to the ETM for more information. Let's pause for a moment here to take a pop quiz. Read the following statement and select O if it is correct and X if it is incorrect. Lambda 2 and Theta 2 6-speed automatic transmissions use ATF SP4 oil. Under normal conditions, you do not need to change the oil. Under harsh conditions, change the oil every 100,000 kilometers. Do not mix the oil for another ATF or overfill it. Now, let's discuss how to check and change the oil. First, prepare 400 cc of ATF SP4. Start the engine. Do not use a stall test to raise the ATF temperature. Use the scanning tool to ensure that the ATF temperature is between 50 and 60 degrees Celsius. With the engine on, move the shifter in P, R, neutral, D, neutral, R, P order twice, and then finally to P. Hold the shifter at each position for at least 2 seconds. Lift the vehicle and remove the oil level plug from the bottom of the automatic transmission valve body cover. Make sure that the vehicle is balanced in all directions. Let the oil drain out for 1 minute. If 0 to 250 cc's of oil drains out, then the oil level is normal. Finish the check procedure and move on to step 10. If no oil drains out, then this indicates that the current oil level is plus or minus 4 mm below the normal level. This is not a problem, so start the checking procedure from step 8. Lower the vehicle with the lift until you can inject the oil, and then remove the oil filler cap. Turn the handle until it is perpendicular to the vehicle, and then pull out the oil filler cap. Slowly add the oil. When the oil starts dripping from the oil level plug hole, stop pouring the oil. If you have added less than 250 cc's, the oil level is normal. You can then raise the car with a lift. Tighten the oil level plug. Lower the vehicle from the lift and tighten the oiled filter cap on the oil inlet opening. When tightening the oil filler cap, make sure that the handle is parallel to the vehicle. To change all of the ATF, remove the oil drain plug, drain out all of the oil, retighten the plug, add 5 liters of new oil, and the conduct steps 1 to 10. Now, let's examine how the TCM learns oil pressures. Conduct this learning process when you replace the TCM or the transmission. The learning process is as follows. Start the engine, and then conduct the learning process when the oil temperature is between 40 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Celsius. To make the transmission learn the hydraulic pressure of the UD brake, move the shifter from neutral to D 3 or 4 times, holding it in each gear for at least 2 seconds. You can also clear the values that the transmission has learned. When replacing the automatic transmission, you can reset the learned hydraulic pressure values that the system has learned from the previous transmission. To clear the learned values, Turn the ignition on, place the shifter in P, ensure that the vehicle is stationary, and then turn off the engine. Let's test what we learned today with a quiz. Let's wrap up what we've learned today.